right, thank you very much for hanging on, everybody. Looks like everything's working well. So before we get rolling here, just again, I want to give another introduction. So my name is Aaron Hernandez. I'm a customer support lead here at Aplos. So today we are going to be taking a look at the entire Aplos suite. So what is all offered within the Aplos software, and how it can help your organization better itself. So if you are looking into Aplos for the very first time, thank you very much for joining. Hopefully today you get some knowledge about how Aplos can be a suitable solution for your organization. If you are an existing customer and checking us out here, hopefully today you will learn some tips and tricks about how to better navigate around the system and how to better utilize the features that are available to you. So at the very end of the webinar, I do want to let you know that we are going to open it up for a live Q&A session as well. So if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to start putting them in that questions section of your menu. And then at the very end, once everything is over, we'll go ahead and roll with the Q&A sessions so that hopefully all those questions you have will be answered. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get rolling here. So within Aplos, this first page that you will land on once you log in is going to be this home page you see in front of you here, which is called the dashboard. This dashboard area is going to consist of different metrics, graphs, and alerts that represent the activity that's happening within your Aplos account. So at the very top here, you see your organization's logo if you have one, and then your organization's name. But underneath that, that's where you'll start seeing those metrics and graphs, such as total cash balance metric, net income for the month, engaged donors or online donation units, and then for the graphs, you have a cash balance graph, some expense breakout graphs, and some donation graphs here at the bottom. If you want to toggle things around, so if you want to see the metrics and graphs in different areas of the dashboard, you can actually use this Edit Dashboard button here towards the bottom right-hand side. And that'll take you to the screen where you can pick from the different preset metrics and graphs we have available for you so that you can pick and choose where you want those to land on your page. Once you have everything to your liking, just click the Save button at the top. Saves your changes and takes you right back here to the main dashboard screen. As far as the alerts that you'll see, those will be listed here on the right-hand side of your page. The very first column here for alerts, this will let you know of things that are outstanding in the system that we think you should keep an eye on, such as if you have purposes that aren't linked up properly, if you have donations that are not linked to the accounting side of the software yet, or if you have things open like a bank reconciliation. So items like those will live here in this alert section. If you are using the accounts payable and accounts receivable features in the system, you'll see alerts for those particular items in their applicable areas as well. All right, and the last thing here on the dashboard I want to show you guys is this privacy switch. So in case you want to step away from your desk for a second, you don't want people to see what's on your screen, all you have to do is just check this privacy box off. It's going to wipe away all those metrics, graphs, and alerts that you just saw and just leave this resource page in its place. Then once you are back at your desk and you don't care who sees your screen, just go ahead and leave it unchecked, and everything will pop right back up for you. All right, so that is the dashboard screen. What we're going to do now is jump all the way down to the very bottom of this menu now, and we're going to go to this little gear icon, which is the settings area of your account. So in this settings area, this is only going to be available for those who are full administrators on the account. So only those with full administrative access will be able to see these next few pages we're going to look at. The first page we're going to jump to is called the org info page. And this is the area where you enter in the basic information for your organization. So what that means is that you're going to tell us what your organization's name is, the EIN number, fiscal year, address, phone number, etc. If you have a logo, you can also upload that image from this page as well. And then you can also manage your communication settings on this screen. So what that means is that this is pretty much you telling us who the primary contacts are for your organization. So in case we need to get in touch with you for whatever reason, whether it be we need to, or maybe the credit card you have on file is about to expire, or we want to send you a monthly newsletter to keep you updated on all things Aplos related, this is the area where you can let us know who we should be getting in touch with. All right, next up here is going to be the users page. So this is where you're going to manage who the users are that have access to your Aplos account. If you want to add a new user, all you have to do is click the blue button at the top of the page that says Add User. And from there, you'll see this form that you can fill out for all the details of that new user, such as their first and last name, the email address that they're going to use to log in with. You can also select roles for that user. So we do have a variety of roles that you can select from, starting from administrator who has full access to the entire software, going all the way down to some read-only access roles that are available as well if desired. Once you have the applicable roles selected, you can enter in a password for this new user and then click Save to save that change. Your users will all live on this main users page. If you ever need to edit the details of a particular user, you can simply click on their name from this page and it'll take you to the details screen where you can manage that information. All right, next up here is the subscription page. So if you need to manage your subscription in any way, if you need to update your billing information, if you want to upgrade or downgrade your subscription, if you want to enter in a promotion code, whatever the case is, as long as it deals with your subscription, you are going to want to handle it from this page here. All right, moving along, we're going to jump to one of my favorite places in the system, which is the activity log area. The activity log area, this is a pretty neat feature, and what it does is it keeps track of all the different activities, all the actions that have taken place within your Aplos account. So you can come here and reference a certain date at a certain time, what user or users were logged in, and what kind of actions they performed while they were in the system. So did you have someone log in and add a new account to your chart of accounts? Did they delete some donations that were previously recorded? Did they add a new donation in the system? Whatever the case is, that will all be logged here for you to reference at any time. All right, next up here is the file box area. So the file box area, this is your basic storage space within the software. If you have any documents or images that you want to keep in a safe spot, you can go ahead and upload those documents here from the file box area. We do give you up to 1 gigabyte of storage space here, so plenty of room to include whatever you need. But if you do find yourself in need of more storage space, please feel free to let us know. And there are options to purchase more storage space for this area. All right, and the last page I'm going to show you here is the partners page. So the partners page, we are partnered with a lot of great companies out there, such as Bloomerang, Church Community Builder, Continue to Give, Donor Elf, Gusto Payroll, and PayPal. So if you have an account with one of these companies, or if you're looking into starting one, you are more than welcome to connect those accounts with your Aplos account so that you can work between both systems a lot smoother. All right, so we've tackled the dashboard, we've tackled the settings. Now what we're going to do is jump into the fund accounting aspect of the system, so the financial side of how you can keep track of your basic bookkeeping needs. All right, so the first place we're going to jump to here is called fund accounting. And then the page subheader we're going to go to is accounts, and the page we're going to is account list. Now the reason I'm taking you guys here first is because this takes us to the chart of accounts page. The chart of accounts in Aplos, this is where you tell us everything that you need to keep track of for your organization. So what are your assets, what are your liabilities, your equities and funds, your income, and your expenses. Everything that you keep track of is going to be listed here. So essentially, you're creating the backbone for the entire Aplos account. So to show you what it would look like to enter in a new account, you would want to come down to one of these categories. So say your income category, and let's say we want to add a new account group as well as a new income account. So to start with the group, I want to click this button at the bottom of the category that says Add Group, and I'm going to enter in a title for this group. So let's call this Other Income. All right, I'm going to click Save there. And so now under Income, I have a new group titled Other Income. When I'm ready to add in my new account, I can simply click on the plus mark icon here next to the group name, and it'll drop down a field here for me to enter in the details of that new account. So each of your accounts are required to have both an account name as well as an account number. If you don't already have a numbering system in place, we recommend going off of the GAAP or the generally accepted accounting principles. So what that means is that your asset accounts would be numbered in the 1000s, your liabilities in the 2000s, your equities and funds in the 3000s, your income in the 4000s, and then your expenses in the 5000s and above. But again, those are just recommended values. If you have a numbering system that you are familiar and comfortable with, you are more than welcome to utilize that same system here in the software if you like. For our example's sake here, we're going to go ahead and call this 4050 since it is an income account, keep it in the 4000s. And then the name of this, let's call this miscellaneous income. All right, so we have my number, we have a name. So those are the only two required fields. The other options that you see here on the side are optional. So the first field you see here for fund, this allows you to assign a fund to a particular income account or expense account that you're working with. So in this case, I could say my miscellaneous income account should be associated with my building fund. And what that would mean is that anytime I start recording a transaction using this income account, the fund for building fund will automatically fill in for me on the entry screen, so I don't have to manually select it each time. So it is an optional field to do that. Underneath the fund is the option to make this account a sub account. So if that is something that you need to do, simply check the box for the sub account, and then in the blank field, you'll enter what the parent account should be for this new sub account. All right, once you have everything ready to go, just click Save. And so now under my income category, I have this new group called Other Income and this new account, 4050 Miscellaneous Income. And then here is the fund that it should be associated with. All right, so easy enough to take care of that. From here, let's go ahead and go back under accounts, and we're going to jump to tags. So custom tags, this is another feature we offer which allows you to categorize your transactions a little bit further so you can see more details on your reports. So let's say, for example, you are an organization that has multiple fundraisers throughout the year. So maybe a spring fundraiser, a summer fundraiser, and then a fall fundraiser. All right, so you have those three. You can set up some general income and expense accounts on your chart of accounts, but with this tag feature in Aplos, you can create tags for each of those individual fundraisers and apply them to the appropriate transactions. So this way, later on, when you're ready to run reports, you can go to the reports page and pull reports based off of those tags. So this way, you can see maybe an income statement for your spring fundraiser and also an income statement for your fall fundraiser. So you can compare between the two to see how each one did compared to the other. Or if you want to see a transaction list of everything that affected this particular fundraiser, you can run a report like that as well. So this would also be good if you are an organization that has maybe multiple locations or maybe departments that you want to keep track of within the organization. So any kind of details you want to kind of break down a little bit more, the tags feature would be a very helpful tool for you. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at the starting balances page. So starting balances, this is where you would enter in the beginning balances for your accounts. On this page, you'll see a list of all of your asset and liabilities going down the screen. And then going across the page, you'll see columns for the different funds that you've set up in the system. So for example, this account I have here, my checking account, it has a beginning balance of $23,500. But that amount is actually split up between these three funds: my general fund, my missions fund, and my building fund. So I have the values split up accordingly, all totaling out to this $23,000 figure here on the side. If your beginning balance just needs to simply be within one particular fund, you can simply plop the full amount within the most applicable column, and you'll be good to go. All right, next up here, we're going to jump to the budgeting screen. You are able to create a budget for your organization if you like to. What this will entail you to do is when you get to the budgeting screen, click Add Budget, enter in what year you are budgeting for, and then click Add. Once you do that, you'll see a screen that will look similar to this. So from this Manage Your Budget screen that you see in front of you, you're going to see a list of all of your income and expense accounts that you've set up in the Chart of Accounts area. When you're ready to enter in what your budget values are, just simply go to this budget column on the screen and start entering what your annual budget values are for each line item. So again, this is for the annual budget value. If you are an organization that does things maybe on a monthly basis or only budgets for certain months throughout the year, then what you can do is check the button at the top that says Show Monthly Breakdown. And that's going to open up all the months of your fiscal year so that you can click into any one of those months and either update in amounts or put in whatever amount is applicable for that particular month. All right, next up is going to be the 1099 section. So within Aplos, you are able to generate 1099s from the software if you like to. What this will require you to do is, one, set up some 1099 tags, and two, tell us who the 1099 vendors are that we should be keeping track of. So for this first step here, you would click on Manage 1099 Tags, and you'll see a list of all of your expense accounts that you've set up, and then columns for each of the categories for the 1099 that can be tracked. So from here, you'll just want to map out which expense accounts belong to which category for the 1099, so we know how to properly track those expenses. And then the second step would be to go into this people area here. We create a group of contacts there for you that's called 1099 vendor. And from there, you can just plug in which contacts from your contact list should be marked as a 1099 vendor. Once those are all set up and you've recording transactions, when you're ready, you can go to the reports area and generate the 1099 form so that you can easily print out that 1099 and send it off to your people. All right. Moving along here, we're going to jump into the transactions area, and we're going to talk about how you can enter data into the system now. So under transactions, the first page we're jumping to here is called the register page. The register is probably going to be the primary place you come to enter in your data. When you get here, what you'll want to start off by doing is selecting which account register you are working within. So right here at the very top, you'll select which account register you are going to be working in. So in this case, we can say our checking account. Once I have that selected, I'll drop down here to the Add Deposit Payment area, and I'm going to start entering the details of my latest transaction. So we can say that, for example, today, April 10th, I went to Walmart. I have them as a contact, so I'm going to select them. And then a comment, let's say I bought supplies today. And then the payment, so let's say I spent, $200 there today. All right, so I spent $200 at Walmart. I'm going to skip deposit. Check number, if I paid by check, I could put a check number there, but since I didn't, I'm going to skip over that field. And then in the account field, I'm going to select which expense account should be associated with this transaction. So let's say this is just my miscellaneous expenses. All right, I have that selected. Now, which fund should this transaction be associated with? We'll go ahead and keep it as general. And then if I had a tag that was applicable for the transaction, this is where I could enter in that tag for the entry. Once everything has been filled out, I'm going to go ahead and click on Submit. And if it posts successfully, it's going to land down here in the transaction history area. All right, so this is my transaction. So there's today's date, my payee, the expense account I used, the comment I left, the payment I made, and then the remaining balance within my checking account. If I want to review those details a little bit more, or if I need to make some updates to the transaction, I can simply click on the transaction here from the history area. And it's going to open up all those fields for me so I can click in here and make any necessary changes for that entry. All right, something else that you can do from this register page is actually perform an import of transactions. So if you wanted to do that, instead of keying everything in manually, you can use this import option here on the top right side. And that's going to take you to the import screen in the software. From here, you would want to download our transaction file template that's available and enter your data for transactions on there. Once that's all filled out, you can upload your file back here on this import page. And once your file has been uploaded, you'll see a list of available transactions to import at the bottom like you see here. If everything is filled out correctly, then you can either click the import button at the right-hand side to individually move a transaction to your register, or you can use the checkboxes on the left to mark multiple off and then click import selected to move all those transactions at one time. All right. So next up here, we're going to take a look at the journal entry area. So journal entry, this is another alternative way to enter in your data in the system. When you come here, you would want to enter in the date of your transaction and then a memo for that entry. Once you have those things filled out, you can start entering which accounts and funds should be associated with the transaction. The main difference here in the journal entry area is that from here, you'll need to manually debit and credit your accounts that are being used for the transaction. The register, it automatically debits and credits the accounts for you, so you don't have to do that extra work there. Something else that you can do from the journal entry area is perform a fund transfer. So if you are in a situation where maybe you need to reallocate some money from maybe a general fund to some type of designated fund, this would be the area you would come to do that. So you start by clicking Start New Fund Transfer, and you'll see this screen here where you will need to fill out the following fields. The first field here is for the memo, so you can just put in whatever memo you want to leave there to recognize that entry. The date of the transfer, within what asset or liability is the transfer happening within. So we can say in this example, this is going to happen within my checking account, so I'll select that. How much do you want to transfer? We can say $100. And then the source fund, so where that money is going to be moving out of, we'll say our general. And then the target fund, where it's going to move to, we could say maybe this is our Save the Turtles fund. All right, so once I click transfer, what will happen is within my checking account, $100 will be reallocated from my general fund to my Save the Turtles fund. So it doesn't actually change the cash balance of my checking account. That will stay the same. All it's saying is that within the current balance of my checking account, I'm going to reallocate some money to be towards my Save the Turtles fund instead of my general. So if that's something you're trying to do, this would be the way that you would go about handling that. All right. Next up, we're going to jump to accounts payable. So accounts payable, this is the tool in the software where you can keep track of the bills that you're making payments on over time. So when you get here, you can enter in the details of your new bill here where it says enter new bill. Once you've submitted that information, it's going to land down here in the pay bills area. Once you are ready to start making a payment towards that bill, just find the appropriate bill, enter in the amount you're paying and the payment date. And once you've entered in those details, you'll have two options to click on the bottom here. One will be pay bills, which will simply record the transaction in your register. The second option, pay bills and print checks. This will still record the transaction in your register, but it will also take you to the check print page that you can print out a check for that transaction if you wanted to. Once your bill has been fully paid off, then it's going to land down here in the history section below. All right, moving along, we're going to jump to accounts receivable now. So this is the other way around. This is if you send an invoice to somebody and now they're making payments to you over time. When you get to this page here, you'll enter in the details for that invoice at the very top here. Once you've entered in those details, they're going to land in the receive payments area. And once you start receiving payments towards those invoices, you can enter in the amount you're receiving and the receive date. And then once you've entered in that data, you can click receive payment to record that transaction to the register. As far as sending out these invoices, you do have a couple options that you can select from here. You can either print out the invoices so that you can hand deliver it to your people, or you can choose the email invoice option, which will send a copy of the invoice in an email to those individuals. Once your invoices have been all paid off, then they're going to land down here in the history section below. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at another time-saving tool that we offer, which is called Bank Integration. Bank Integration, this is a tool that allows you to connect your Aplos account with your bank account. So what happens here is once that connection is established, you're able to retrieve the most recently posted transactions from your bank, and then you can start importing those transactions into your Aplos account. Once you have that, as far as the connection is concerned, we're partnered with a couple of different third parties called Plaid and Finicity. So if your bank is available with one of those, you can establish a connection with that bank. You can always do a search here from this page to see if your bank is available. So if you want to say Bank of America, for example, you'll see that, and then you'll see what options are available for that bank. All right, once you have your connection established, then let's go ahead and go to this page here. All right, and so once you start retrieving your transactions, you'll see a list of available entries that are available to import. Just like the other import screen we were looking at, once everything has been filled out, you can either click the import button to individually move a transaction, or you can use the checkboxes on the left to import multiple at a time. If there is a transaction that pulls over that the system kind of picks up as a possible duplicate, it'll have a marker next to the date that lets you know, like, hey, this transaction looks similar to something you already have in your Aplos account, so you may not want to import this. And from there, you can go ahead and hide that entry so it dismisses it from the screen. Once you do start retrieving transactions, just to note this as well, we are able to bring over the majority of the information, such as the date, any kind of check number, note memo, the payee, and the amount. The only information that we can't pull through is just which account and fund it should be associated with. So you'll still want to select which income or expense account or which fund this should be associated with. Once you fill in those details, then you can start importing those transactions. All right. Next up is bank reconciliation. So bank reconciliation, this is a kind of checks and balances type of system we offer, which allows you to make sure everything in Aplos is accurate and correctly showing with what's reflected on your bank statements. So from here, you can check to see if you have any transactions missing in Aplos, if you have any duplicates recorded, or if you have recorded something maybe incorrectly. So from here, what you would want to do is enter in the statement ending date and statement ending balance for what you're trying to reconcile for. So you click OK once you're ready, and then you'll see a list of all of your unclear transactions that are in the system. So you'll just want to go through and mark off whichever deposits and other credits and checks and other payments that should be associated with the time period you're trying to reconcile for. Once everything has been checked off and you have a $0 balance listed in the difference area, you'll be able to close that bank reconciliation, which will allow you to know that everything in Aplos up to whatever date you selected is current and accurate. All right. Moving along here, the last page I'm going to show you is the check print page. As I mentioned earlier with accounts payable, you are able to print out checks from the system if you wanted to. What this would look like is at the very top, you'd select which register you're trying to look for transactions in. Once you have that selected, you'll see a list of available transactions that you can print a check for. Just mark off whichever entries you do want to print a check for. Make sure the starting check number in this field is correct, and then you would click the print button there. Once you click print, a PDF file will download to your computer with those transaction details so that you can easily just print those off onto the check stock that you have. As far as what types of checks we currently support draft and voucher style checks. The draft style is going to be the 3 checks per page, and then the voucher style is going to be the check on the top and 2 stubs underneath that. If you don't have these types of checks available, you can use the link on this page, which will take you to our preferred provider, Dynamic Systems, so you can order those checks through them if you like. All right. So going to move along here, but just to kind of notate these next couple of features here, fixed assets and allocations, along with some other areas within the accounting section, those are only available with the advanced accounting tier that we offer. Everything we're going over today is based off of the standard version of Aplos that you can have. So if you are interested in the advanced version, which includes things such as a fixed assets module, an allocations feature, even budgeting for your funds and your tags, definitely let me know in the questions section. I can get you in touch with one of our account executives who can give you more details about what's all included and how everything works in that advanced feature or advanced subscription. All right, but moving along, we're going to jump to this payroll tab now. As I mentioned earlier in the partner section, we are partnered with a great company called Gusto Payroll. We've been partnered with them for a little over a year now, and they are just a wonderful full-service payroll provider that helps you do everything, essentially everything and anything that's related to payroll. So with them, if you tell them that you're an Aplos customer, you actually get your first 3 months of service for free, which is a pretty sweet deal. So if you're interested in looking for a new payroll provider, definitely feel free to leave a note in the question section there, and I can get you the contact information for Gusto and their team. Just to mention this as well, the integration itself, how that works, it is a full integration. So whatever happens in Gusto, you just give it the okay, and it pushes right into Aplos for you. So there's no kind of nasty export import process. It's just simply your pay run gets recorded in Gusto. You say go ahead and push it to Aplos, and then Aplos records that transaction for you in the system. So really great time saving tool there. All right. Under e-file here, we do offer you the ability to file either the Form 990EZ or the 990N, depending on what your organization needs to file. So if you do need to file one of these types of forms, you can simply come to this e-file section and click on Start New Filing for whichever form is applicable for you. Unfortunately, we don't do the full Form 990, so if that is something you need to do, that would be something that would need to be done outside of the system. But if you just need to do the EZ or the N, you can definitely go through this kind of wizarding tool here to walk step by step through that filing. And it's completely free. It's included with your subscription, so there's no additional cost to do these filings. All right, and then the last thing under fund accounting here I want to show you is called the period close tool. So period close, this allows you to lock down your books up to a certain point in time that you designate. So from here, what you would want to do is in the period date field, select which date you want to lock your books to. So we can say, for example, if we're trying to close out 2018, we would select December 31st of 18 and then click close period. So then what will happen is that everything I have in the software up until December 31st will be completely locked in so that I can't go back and make changes to anything. And I also can't go back and add anything new to that time period. So it completely kind of shuts off those transactions from being modified in any way. But definitely understand that, mistakes happen. Sometimes you do need to go back and update some information. If that is the case, any administrator on the account can always come back to this screen and reopen a closed period. All right, so now that we're done with the fund accounting, let's jump to the reports page real quick and talk about what kind of reports you can run. So on this reports page, this is going to list all the different reports that are available to you in the software, both for the accounting side of the system as well as the donor management side of the software, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. As far as the financial reports go, there is a variety of reports that you can run in the system. We're just going to take a look at a couple today. The first one I want to show you is called the balance sheet report. So the balance sheet report, this report gives you a snapshot of where your organization stands as of a certain date. So as of today, you can see the balances of all of your assets, your liabilities, and your equity accounts. So you can see your organization's overall worth. If you want to drill down into a certain account to see what makes up that total, you can simply click on the amount, and that will take you to a general ledger report so you can see the breakdown for what makes up that total. All right, the next report I want to show you guys is another popular one, which is the income statement report. So income statement, this is your basic profit and loss report, what's come in and what's gone out as of a certain date range. Unlike the balance sheet, most of the reports in Aplos do run off of a date range. So if you need to update that date, you can go to the date field in the upper left-hand side here, and we give you some preset options to select from, such as this month, last month, this year, last year. We also give you a custom date range feature as well to choose if you want to do a custom date range. Also available on all your reports are going to be these blue buttons that go across the page. The first one here for share, this allows you to email over the report directly from the software to any selected individuals that you want. So it is a pretty handy feature. So if you need to send a report quickly to maybe someone within your organization or maybe some board members, you can quickly click share and then just send that report right off to those designated individuals. The save button here, this allows you to save a report as is. So if you have a report that you've made a lot of modifications to and you want to continue using the report in that way moving forward, instead of redoing it every time, just simply click save. And the next time you come back to the main reports page, you'll see a category there called saved reports where you can access that previously saved information. The print button, this allows you to print out the report if you'd like to. And then the download option, this allows you to download the report either as an Excel file or a PDF file to your computer. All right. So pretty handy there. So good job. So we've made it halfway through the system. We've talked about the entire financial side of the system and how that all works. What I'm going to do is take a quick minute breather, give everyone a little bit of time to kind of shake it off a little bit and get prepared as we talk about the donor management side of the system next. So hang on real tight. If you have any questions, please feel free to start putting them in that questions section, and we'll get to it at the very end for the live Q&A. But for now, just hang on real quick and I'll be right back with you guys. All right, test 1 2, test 1 2. Hopefully you guys are all still there and wide awake now that we've shaken it off and grabbed a cup of water. So what we're going to do now is jump into the donor management portion of the system. But before I do that, I did see one question come through, and I would like to kind of take care of that right now since it does relate to the financial side. So Channing, you were saying that your council likes to look at the budget versus actual reports, and you're wondering if there's an equivalent in Aplos. That's a great question, and there is an equivalent in Aplos. So if you go to the reports page, as you may have saw earlier, we did go over the budgeting feature, so you can create a budget in the system. Once you have created that budget, you're going to have some reports you can run, such as a budget to actual report listed here, or you can even do a comparative budget to actual report as well, which will allow you to do things like current month versus last month, or current month versus the year. All right, so those reports are available to you if you like. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the donor management portion. So the donor management portion, this is pretty much your CRM. So this is where you can manage who the people are that are involved with your organization, as well as handling things like donations, event registrations, groups and teams, such as like a membership for committees, all that wonderful stuff. So let's go ahead and start rolling into there. The first tab I want to show you guys is the people area, and the first page we're going to jump to is called contact list. So the contact list page, this is essentially your Rolodex for the organization. So everyone that is involved with your organization, whether they are an accounting vendor, a donor, maybe a staff member, whatever the case is, they will all live here in this one contact list area. So from here, if you need to add a new contact, you can simply click on the green plus mark icon here in the upper right-hand side to create a new contact. That'll open up a form for you here to fill out with all the details for that new contact, such as their first and last name if they're an individual, company name if they're a company. You can put in their phone numbers, emails, addresses, etc. Whatever information you want to include. Once you have everything filled in, you can click Save and Add, which will save the form you're working on and then open up a blank form for you to enter in details for a new contact. Or you can click Save and Close, which will save the form you were just working on and then take you back to the main contact list page. All right, if you have all of your contact data maybe on an Excel file, for example, that's great. You can actually import that data into the Aplos account so you don't have to manually key everything in. To do that, you would want to come into this Actions arrow on the right-hand side and then click the Import Contacts option. So from there, you can upload the Excel file that you have, kind of map out the columns on your file, and then that will quickly allow you to import that data into your account. If you want to, from this actions area as well, you can also export the information you have that's in Aplos if you want to have that information. And then lastly, there's this duplicate contacts tool you can utilize. And so what that will do is search through your entire contact list for any potential duplicate contacts if the system does find any, and it will let you know on the page that you can quickly check off whichever ones you want to merge together so you can get rid of those duplicates that are in there. All right. So that is how you would add that in. Let's go ahead and dive into a particular contact so we can see what that information looks like. For those that know me well, I am a very big superhero fan. So today we're going to take a look at Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. All right. So from Peter Parker's contact card here, this area that we have here, we call the contact card. So this is where all the information for a particular contact is stored so that you can view it. On the left-hand side, you'll see kind of his primary information, such as a profile picture, his primary email, a primary phone number or address that we would have on file would also be listed here. If he's a donor, you'll see information for their giving history, kind of in a snapshot here in this box. If they are an accounting vendor and maybe they have an accounts payable or accounts receivable with you, then you'll see those items here in their applicable areas as well. And then the last option here is for contact tags. So a contact tag is a little bit different than a accounting tag that we looked at earlier. But these tags, they are labels that you can give to your contacts so that when you are doing things like check-in event, which we will discuss in a little bit here, you can apply a particular label for these types of contacts. So if that's something you want to do, you can do that there. As far as on the right-hand side, this is going to give you the more details, kind of the drill down for the information for that contact. This first tab here for activity, this is essentially an activity log specifically for this contact. So from here, you can see any transaction that's gone through, any donation that's gone through for this contact, every time you've reached out to them, such as a phone call or email, any activity at all that's been recorded in the software will be listed here for you to reference for that contact. Details, this will let you know of all their personal information, such as their name, phone number, address. If they have any relationships, they'll be listed here as well. The notes tab here, this is a good area for you to notate any kind of important features about this contact. So if you, for example, I have here that Peter is allergic to peanuts, so you can put allergies there. What's really cool about the notes tool is that this is a way for you to kind of give just little tidbits of information for this contact, so that if not you, if maybe someone else is taking over for handling contacts, they can always quickly come here and see that information, so it's not lost in the mix. So then whenever people see these notes, they can always know, oh, Peter is allergic to peanuts, no matter who is in charge of your contacts for that day. So it's pretty handy there. But you can also notate things, maybe if like they have hobbies, or if they like to go to certain types of events, you can also list that in the notes area too. List, this is groups that you can create within the system. So if you want to say maybe a group for your board members, or if you want to create a group for maybe people that volunteer for a certain event or have a particular hobby, you can create those types of groups. And then from here, whatever is an existing group, you can quickly check those off so that the contact will be a part of those groups. All right, contributions. If this contact has any kind of contribution history, you can see the details of those from this contributions tab. Reports to contact. This is anytime you have touched base with this contact, anytime you've communicated with them, you can report that here in the reports to contact. So you can always keep up to date on how often you're reaching out to somebody. Within Aplos, if you send out an email or create a letter for this contact, they will automatically be recorded in this report to contact area. Also, if they are checking in for a particular event, you can also see that history logged here in the reports to contact. If you need to add a new reported contact, you can go into to this line here. It says add a new reported contact. So if we can say, so this first option here would be to select which person from the organization has reached out to that contact. So let's say that maybe Alex is reaching out to Peter today. The type of communication that it is, let's say a phone call. And the date, we'll say today, the 10th. And the content, wanted to discuss new Avengers movie. All right, so once you have all that information filled out, then you can go ahead and click save, and that adds the reported contact to this individual. All right, next up here is relationships. So if you want to tie a contact to another contact in the system, whether you want to create some type of relationship, maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a child, or maybe it's a coworker, whatever type of relationship you want to create, you can do that from this relationships area here. So you would just click add a new relationship, and then you would say the relationship type, and then who the other contact should be for this relationship. You can also create households in the software, which we'll talk about in another second here when I get to this households tab. But if this contact is a part of a household, such as Peter Parker is a part of the Avengers household, you'll see that relationship listed here as well. All right, dates. This allows you to put any kind of important dates that you want to designate for this contact. Could be a birthday, could be anniversary, could be the day they started helping out with your organization. Whatever that important date is, you can log that from this tab here. Reminders. So this is a way for you to create a reminder to get in touch with a contact. So the reported contact that we designated as of today that Alex did, we can say maybe he didn't want to do that until Friday. So in that situation, he would create a reminder to remind him to reach out to that contact. So you click add a new reminder to start that process. You choose what date you want to be reminded on. So we could say Friday. In the message, call Peter to discuss movie. Great. And you can click save and close. So that reminder will live here. It will also live, we may have changed that, but it used to live on the left-hand side here. But your reminders will live here, but it will also live on this marketing area that's called the feed. The feed, this is another type of like organizational dashboard that you have access to. So from here, you can see things such as, sorry, I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but from this area, you can see things such as first-time donors, or if you have people that have updated recurring donations, birthdays, anniversaries that you've designated. But these reminders will also live here. So as you can see right here for this week's activity, I have Peter and then a reminder to call Peter to discuss the movie. When I want to take action on this reminder, I can either dismiss it using this X icon. I can use the clock to postpone it. I can use this pin to add a note to the reminder. I can use this first letter here to email using a template that I've built, or I can use this last email option to create a custom email to send out to Peter. So however I want to take action on that, I can just click one of those to take care of it. All right, let me jump back to Peter's contact card here. And then the last thing or the two last things we have here, the first one is transactions. So if Peter has any accounting transactions, they will live here for you to reference. And then the last option here is event check-ins. So kind of mentioned this a little bit, but I don't think I've dove into it much, but we actually recently released a check-in feature within Aplos. So it's, some of you may recognize that as kind of like a kids check-in. So like if you have a Sunday school that you want to check certain kids into, or if you have an event that you want people to check in on, that would be a tool that you can utilize to take care of that. And if this contact has checked into a particular event, that will be listed on this last tab here for event check-ins. All right, so moving along here, we're going to jump out of the contact card area and we're going to jump into lists now. So I mentioned earlier with lists, these are groups that you can create within the software. So groups of contacts that you want to put together. So something like a board member or people that have volunteered for a certain event. So there's two different types of lists that you can create in Aplos. One's called a static list, the other is called a dynamic list. So static list, what this means is that this is a list of contacts that you can generate that really isn't going to change. So something like a board member or volunteers for an event. Dynamic list, this is a list, you can think of it as a smart list. This is a list that generates off of a behavior that you designate. So with this dynamic list, what you can do, jump back up here. You click the plus mark icon and click new dynamic list. And so when you get here, you can set up whatever behavior parameters you want to generate a list for. So for example, let's say that I want to look for anybody that's given a donation during this year. All right, and so any donation during this year, I will click preview. So then this system will look for any contacts that have donated during this year. That behavior is that list is gonna update as the year goes on. So the list won't always be the same, which is that's why we refer to it as a smart list or a dynamic list, because it's always going to be changing. But once that list is generated, what you can do is save that list. Once it is saved, you can either export it to Excel. You can save it as a static list instead. You can print mailing labels for that list of contacts. You can send emails to them, or you can print letters for them. So there's a lot of actions that you can take. You can even, I think I may have mentioned this, but yeah, you can print mailing labels for them as well. But there's a lot of different actions that you can take with these dynamic lists. And also with the static list as well. So for the static list, if you click on the little ellipses here on the right-hand side, you have options to edit, delete, duplicate. You can also export to Excel, print mailing labels, or send emails and print letters. So the same options apply there. All right. Moving along here, we're going to jump to custom fields. So custom fields, if there is additional information that you want to keep track of for your contacts that there's not already a field for, you can come to this custom fields area and create those. So something like maybe an ID number or t-shirt size, you can create those types of fields so that you can still keep track of that information for your contacts. All right, households. Households, as I mentioned earlier, this is a feature available in the system where you can group people together that live in the same household. So we talked about the vendors, so let me go ahead and jump to them. All right, so when you create a household, you can put in a picture for that. It's the same as a regular contact. You'll see all their information as you would see on a regular contact, except this one is you're going to see the information for all of the members that are a part of this household. So you can see that in this particular household, I have Tony Stark, Peter Parker, Steve Rogers, Bruce Banner. They all live in the same household here. You can set someone as the head of household, and so once you do that, that would be the household's contact information. It would be based off that contact. So any kind of phone number or address that was listed for Tony, that would be listed as the household's contact information as well. But households are also really helpful when it comes to contributions. So if the different members of the household are donating to your organization, instead of doing contribution statements for each individual, you can actually do a contribution statement for the whole household, so that you don't have to send multiple papers to them, just the one. So that's pretty helpful there. But at the top, you still have the same tabs as before. So activity. So if you want to see the activity log for that household, the details, again, the members that are a part of it, their contributions, any reports of contact, and transactions associated with them. All right. And then the last option here is the check-in. As I mentioned, this is a brand new feature that we've just released. Essentially, you can say this is kind of the beta version, because we are working on doing some more improvements to this feature. But what this is a way for you to check people in for a certain event. So like I mentioned, some people may recognize it as a kids check-in, where people have like Sunday school classes that they check different kids into different rooms at a location. Or if you're looking for a way to just check people in for a certain event that you're hosting, this would be a great tool to utilize for that as well. We will be having a separate webinar that goes over this feature once we kind of have all of our ducks in a row and have everything ready for the kind of actual live version instead of the beta version. So keep an eye out for an email from us regarding that new tool, but you're definitely more than welcome to start utilizing it now if you'd like to. All right, next up, we're going to jump into the donations tab here, and we're going to talk about how you can manage your donations in the software. So under donations, the first page I'm going to jump to here is called the Fundraising Center. So the Fundraising Center, this is another dashboard that we give you in the system, but this one is particular to your donations. At the very top, you're going to see these 4 boxes here, and what those 4 boxes represent are the different types of donors that you have in the system. So depending on the activity of those donor contacts that you've entered in, we'll plop them into the appropriate bucket. So this first bucket here is called prospects, and this is for anybody who has either never given to your organization or has not given to your organization in the last 2 years or more. New donors, this is someone that has given to your organization once within the last 12 months. Engaged donors is someone that has given to your organization more than once in the last 12 months. And then lapsed donors, this is someone who has given last year but has not given this year. And then once they haven't given for 2 years, they plop right back into prospects. So this is a good way for you to keep track of the different types of donors that you have, because sometimes if you want to reach out to donors, you may want to reach out differently to an engaged donor than you would to a lapsed or prospect donor. So this way kind of helps you figure out who's who within your organization. And then underneath those boxes is a fundraising graph, so you can see the history of your donations that you've recorded in the system in a bar graph form. All right. Moving along here, we're going to jump to the purposes page now. So purposes are how we track donations in Aplos. And in short, what purposes are just reasons why people are giving to your organization. So if you're a church, this could be tithes and offerings. If you're any other nonprofit out there, it could be an event that you're hosting or maybe a trip that you're going to do, whatever the case is. So any reason why people are giving to your organization, that's what you're going to want to set up as a purpose within Aplos. Those purposes can then be linked to an income account and a fund from the chart of accounts area. So this way, when you start recording donations, 2 things will happen. One, we'll record the contribution record for you guys, so that when the time comes, you can generate a contribution statement for those donors. The second thing that we do is we record a deposit on the accounting side for you. So as long as those purposes are linked to the appropriate income account and fund, we know exactly where to allocate those donations to. So this way, both those things happen for you at the very same time. So we keep track of the contribution record and we post the accounting deposit so that everything has been recorded and you're in balance and you're all set to go. So there's no kind of extra work involved. A two-in-one deal. All right, so that is purposes. Now, once you have your purposes all set up, you would go under contributions and you can use one of these 2 pages to start recording the donations that you receive. These are 2 different ways of recording your donations, so I'm going to go over each one of them. This first one here, this first page that's also called contributions, what this page allows you to do is record a single donation. So if you've received a check, for example, let's say that you're an organization that only does deposits on Fridays. Maybe you received a check donation today, and so you want to still record that donation, but maybe you're not ready to record it to the accounting side yet. So what you can do here to record that one-off donation, you can click on the plus mark icon to start a new entry. That'll open up this form for you to enter in the details of that donation. So the contact, so who was the donor that gave you that donation? We can say maybe this was, Fester Adams from the Adams family. And then purpose, let's say that he gave to the missions purpose. And then acknowledge stands for if you've sent a thank you of some kind to this donor. So if you have, you would select acknowledged. If you haven't yet, you would select unacknowledged. And then if you don't plan on sending a thank you at all for this donation, you would click dismiss. All right, and so we'll keep it as dismissed for right now. Next up is contribution date. So what day did you actually receive this donation? We would say the 10th. The amount that was given, let's say $100. Reference ID, this could be like a check number, or if you wanted to put cash, if they paid cash, or any kind of other unique identifier you want to make for this donation, you can enter there. Note, so if you want to include a note for this donation, you can do so in this field. Expense amount, if there was any type of expense included with this donation, most commonly this would be regarding online donations, so that have processing fees. You would put that fee in the expense amount column. And then underneath that are some fields for non-tax deductible amounts. So non-tax deductible, meaning that your people receive some type of good or service in exchange for whatever they've given to you. So this would be a good example of this would be if you had like a fundraising dinner for your organization, and so maybe the dinner itself cost $10, but everything additional to that would be considered a donation for that person. So if Fester, for example, if he was giving to this dinner and he gave the total of $100, we would say that $10 of it is non-tax deductible because he received a dinner in exchange for that amount. And then so the remaining $90 will be considered tax deductible that he can then write off for his taxes. So I have the amount listed here. Underneath the amount, you can also include the note. So this way, your donors can recognize what the non-tax deductible amount was for. So in this case, you can say, purchased a dinner. All right. And so once you have all those details entered in, I'm actually going to go ahead and delete the non-tax deductible stuff right now. But once you have all the information filled out, you can either click Save and Add, which will save the donation you were just working on and open up a new blank form to work with. Or you can click Save and Close, which will save the information you were just working on and take you back to the contributions page. So let's go ahead and click that for right now. All right, my contribution has been added, and if you want to review it again, you'll see it listed here on this kind of history page. All right, so there's the contribution date, my donor contact, the reference ID, and any note I left, the purpose they gave to, and then the amount. So as you can see under this deposit column, there's an empty box there. So since I'm an organization that only does deposits every Friday, what I would want to do when Friday comes around is check off whichever donation should be a part of that deposit, and then click create deposit. So then this way what will happen is a bulk deposit will be recorded for me for those contributions on the accounting side of the system. So this would be the action that would actually push the donations to the accounting side when you're ready. All right, so that is one way of recording donations. Now, if we come back up here under contributions, we'll talk about the second way that you can go about doing that. So under contributions, you would jump to this deposits page. And so this deposit screen, this kind of skips the step that we were just working on and takes you directly into creating a bulk deposit. So if you receive multiple donations at one time, or if you just want to record all of your donations at one time for a certain day, you can do that from this deposit screen here. So when you get here, you click the plus mark icon to start a new entry. At the very top of this form, you'll select the deposit date, so whatever date you took this money to the bank. So since we're an organization that deposits things on Friday, we would say Friday the 12th. You would give this deposit a name or a batch name. So we can call this one, weekly donations. And then if you want to include another description, you can do so in the box underneath. Once you get done with that, you'll want to enter in the details or the individual donations that you've received. So today we could say that, today the 10th or Wednesday the 10th, I received cash. And then the donor was Fester Adams. Fester gave to the missions and he gave $100. The NTD also stands for non-tax deductible, so just keep that in mind. So if there was anything non-tax deductible, you could fill in that information. Expense amount, if there was any, and then the status, so unacknowledged or acknowledged or dismissed. And then from there, you can keep on going. So you can, for all the other donations that you receive. So let's say that, on the 11th, I received a check for 2468. It was a check number. And let's say that this donor was, let's see, who can we play with here? Let's say this was Alex. All right, so Alex is going to give to the general purpose, and he's going to give, $300, and then so on and so forth. So you can keep on adding as many donations as you received for that week or that day. Once you have all of your donations recorded, you'll just want to make sure the correct bank account is selected at the bottom here. So that's where the deposit will be going to, is whatever bank account you select there. And then when you're ready, just click Save. Once you do, you'll be back on this main deposit screen, and then you'll see the details here in the history for that deposit. So there is the deposit date, the batch name that I gave it, how many contributions it consisted of, how many donor contacts it consisted of, and then the total amount of that deposit. When I click in here, I'll see the details for those individual donations, but I'll also see a link here that says accounting transaction, which means that the accounting deposit was successfully recorded on the accounting side. If I click that link, it'll actually take me to the bulk deposit that was recorded in the register. So here are the details for that bulk deposit. If I want to review the details of the individual donations that make up this deposit, there's a line here that says source contribution, and with my batch name there that I can click on, and it'll take me back to that contribution deposit that I recorded. All right, so that is the second way of recording contributions. So just two ways of kind of getting to the same place. So hopefully that information proves helpful for you. All right, so under contributions, the next thing I want to show you guys is the pledge module. So if you guys are someone that keeps track of pledges for your organization, this is the area you can come to handle those. So a pledge, in short, is just a promise that a donor makes to your organization. So if I came up to your organization, I said, hey, I promise that I'm going to give you guys $1,000 this year. So I would come into this pledge module, record that information, and then we could also make that scheduled payment setup as well, so that I promise to give you $1,000, but I'm going to pay you, $100 a month until I pay it off. So you can set up that schedule from here. So you start at the top by just clicking the plus mark icon. And then you'll see the form here that you can fill out. So the contact name, so we can say in this case that's me. The purpose that I want to give to, let's say this, I want to give to the building purpose. The amount, I promise to give $1,000 altogether. The pledge date, I made that pledge to you today. The schedule, so how often do I want to make payments to you for that donation? Let's say this is monthly. And then the installment date, so that is going to be when the next payment is going to be. So I don't want to start paying you until May 1st, so I'll select that. So my payments will begin starting May 1st for that $100 to your organization. Speaking of which, the installment amount, so that's how much the person will be giving. So $100 per month is what I'm doing. And then any notes for this pledge you can include here in the note field. Once you have all that information in there, we'd click Save and Close. All right, so that is setting up the schedule for the pledge when you're ready to keep track of the payments that are coming through for that pledge. If we go back to let's go back to the deposit screen here real quick, and I'll start a new deposit. As soon as I type in that donor's name, so if I select my name here, the system will recognize that I have some open pledges out. And so from there, you can just mark off whichever pledge this payment you're recording should be associated with. So if I say $100 and it's going to go to this particular pledge, the system will tie my payment to that pledge so that it'll be updated. If the payment I'm entering in is actually above and beyond the pledge, just simply leave the pledges unchecked and proceed as normal with recording the donation, and it'll count as above and beyond that pledge. All right, and then along with the pledges, you can also produce pledge statements from the reports page. So this way, if you're trying to keep track, or maybe the donor wants to keep track of how much they've given to you so far, you can generate those statements and send them out or print them out for that individual. All right. Next up here, we're going to take a look at online donations. So that is, we do offer you the ability to receive donations online if you'd like to. What this would require you to do is, one, set up a WePay account. WePay is the processing company that we're integrated with, so you can receive those payments. And then two, create some online forms or widgets through the Aplos system. As far as creating the WePay account, that is included with your subscription. There's no additional fee for that. So when you first get to the online donations page here, you'll be prompted to create that WePay account. And the next thing you'll be prompted to do is create an online form. So an online donation form, this is a web page that people can be redirected to, that they can fill in their information for that donation. The other option that we give you is the option to create a donation widget. A widget is something that you can embed into a website so that acts like a pop-up, so that it's the same deal where they still have to put in their information, but when they click the button on your website, it would just produce a pop-up on the page so that they can enter in that information. So let me go ahead and show you what that would all look like. So once you have your forms and widgets set up, let's look at this one first. So this is an example of an online donation form. So again, this is a separate web page that you're creating, so you can have your organization's logo at the top. the title of your form, a picture, and some text that you would want to include. As far as the donor's information that they need to fill out, we automatically put in the fields for first name, last name, and email. But if you want to track additional information from your donor, such as an address, phone number, even some custom fields of your choosing, you can add those to the form as well for them to fill out. As far as the donation section here, you can set up some pre-designated amounts that your donors can choose from, or you can allow them to give a custom amount. Your donors can choose between giving a one-time gift or a recurring gift. For recurring, they would just choose between monthly and weekly, and then they would set up the appropriate schedule from there. You can also allow your donors to choose which purpose they want to give toward, and then your donors can also leave a note for your organization if they like. And then at the very bottom, you can also allow your donors to choose to pay for the transaction fee for the donation if they wanted to. Once your donors fill everything out, they would click the button at the bottom, and that'll take them to the next page where they would put in their billing information. As far as how your donors can pay, they can either pay via credit card or debit card, or they can pay via ACH. So ACH just meaning like an e-check where they would put in their banking information. Let me jump back here for just a second. So with WePay, there's no additional fee for the WePay account, but there are processing fees involved to process each donation that comes through. So those transaction fees, they would be 3% plus 30 cents for most major credit cards like Visa, MasterCard, Discover. 2% plus 30 cents for the ACH payments, and then 4.1% plus 30 cents if they're paying with an American Express card or an international credit card. So again, 3% plus 30 cents for most credit cards, 2% plus 30 cents for the ACH, and then 4.1% plus 30 cents for American Express or international cards. Aside from those processing fees, though, like I mentioned, there's no additional cost to doing the online donations. All right, so then we took a look at the online form. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the widget. So here's a sample web page that I've created. Here is my button for the widget. So if I click on that button, it's going to produce this little pop-up here. It has the same information that the form had. So some pre-designated giving amounts. I can enter in a custom amount. I can choose between one-time or recurring if I want to pay for the fee. And then I would just keep moving along here so that I can fill in the rest of that information. All right. And the great thing about using us for your online donations is the fact that we take care of a lot of things automatically for you. So as soon as someone makes a donation through either the form or the widget, we automatically record the transaction for you, not only on the donation side, but also on the accounting side, so that your books are going to be in balance the whole time. Your contribution records are going to be in balance the whole time. So you don't have to essentially worry about doing anything manually in the system for your online donations. It's just they get submitted, we record the action for you. We even send an email to the donor to help you out as well. So as soon as they submit a donation, we send out an email thanking them for that donation. So as soon as they click submit, they get a thing in their inbox that says, hey, thank you for donating to this organization for this amount. If it's a recurring donation, please feel free to go to this link to update your recurring donation at any time. Otherwise, please feel free to let us know if you need any help, and have a wonderful day, that type of thing. So all that is done automatically for you. So you can always review that information as well. So in the marketing tab here, again, jumping ahead a little bit, but under the marketing tab under emails, there's a place for automatic emails. And so you can always review what those emails we send out are. So the one for one-time donations, the one for recurring donations. If it failed, we'll also send them an email. So he's saying like, hey, thank you for your attempt of submitting a donation. Unfortunately, something didn't go through. May want to try again with a different payment method, that type of thing. All right, but all that is done automatically for you. All right, so also under online donations, there is a separate page also titled online donations. That is for the history of your donations. So if you want to review all the donations that have come through, whether they're one-time or recurring, you'll see the history of them listed here on this page. If you want to review who your recurring donors are, you can go to the recurring donations page and review that information. All right. And then the last thing I just want to mention under this donations tab is this little subheader here we didn't talk about yet. It's called events. So you are able to create event registrations within the software. So from here, if you have a particular event that you want people to either register for or purchase a ticket to attend, you can create those types of events here from the events page, and then have a form available for your people to go to purchase those tickets or register. Let me show you a quick example of what one of those would look like. So here is a view of a previous event that we've had. So here's the form that your people would see. So there's a banner image at the top, the title of the event, the date and the location of it, some kind of introduction text that you can add in there. If there were any tickets available, there would be options for them to select from. And then when they're ready to purchase those tickets, you can see the summary here and proceed on to enter in their billing information. As far as the tickets go, you can do both free tickets as well as paid tickets. So if you just want someone to register for an event, you can set up a free ticket for them to purchase, which would allow them to register for the event at no charge. If it is a paid ticket, you can put a cost to that ticket so that they can pay the appropriate amount. We do have a separate webinar that actually goes over this event feature, so I'm not going to go into much detail about it right now. So if you do want more information about this tool, please let me know, and I'll be sure to send you the recording of that previous webinar so that you can get that information. All right, so we've talked about donations. I'm going to jump into marketing now, and under marketing, we've already talked about the feed, so I'm going to skip over that. And so we're going to jump to emails here now. So you are able to send email campaigns within the software if you wanted to. So this would be sending out a bulk email to a number of contacts that you want to reach out to. So from here, you would just click the plus mark icon. You would put in the name of the campaign that you're doing, a campaign description, what the subject line of the email should read as, who the email should be showing from, and then where the reply should be sent to. Once you have that filled in, you would put in the content of that. So with the content, you can either choose from an existing template that you've created for the emails, or you can build a new template to use for that campaign. For the recipients, you can select from the contacts that you have existing in the software, or you can include new addresses that aren't in the system yet. And then you can also include lists that you've created, and soon you're going to be able to do households as well. And then at the very end here where it says send, this is where you can designate if you want to send that campaign out ASAP, or if you want to send it out at a later date. And then those email campaigns that get sent out, as I mentioned earlier, they do get reported to the report of contacts for any existing contacts that you're sending it to. All right, and then letters here, this allows you to build out a letter that you can print out and deliver to your people. So if you wanted to do that route, you can go to the screen here and create a new one. Here's an example of what a letter could look like. It just looks like your the editor itself looks like your basic Word document editor. So you can set the name, the description, the margins, and then you can build out your letter like you see here. So I put in an image, there's a date. These little green tabs here, these are custom fields that you can add to the letter. You can also do the same thing with the email campaigns too. These custom fields here, these are different than the custom fields we talked about previously in the content and the people section. But what these are is this is information that can be filled in for whoever you're trying to build these letters or emails for. So such as donor first name, donor last name. If you want to do a donor birthday, that would go in there as well. Last donation amount, contributions this month, that type of thing. All right, and so you would just plug those in there, and so whatever contacts you select, the system will automatically fill in the information, whatever custom fields you've plopped in there. Once you're ready for that letter to get sent out, you can click Save and Print or preview it if you wanted to. So you click Save and Print, and so once you do that, it's already selected that template that you were working on. Now you just need to select the group of contacts that it consists of. So if you have an existing list, you can select from the list there, or you can create a new list as well. So let's go ahead and just select this group here for Aaron's birthday bash. All right, so I have my template selected, my people selected, so I'm going to click Preview and Print. And so from here, this is what the letter would look like for each of the contacts that were in that group. So here's the one for Jeff, what that one would look like. Here's the one for Aaron, what that would look like. And then here's the one for Dan and how that would look. All right, once you're ready, just click the download letters. That will download the PDF file to your computer so that you can quickly have all those to print out and then hand deliver or send in the mail to those individuals. And those letters as well get tracked on the report of contact page for those designated individuals. All right, so coming back here under marketing list, this takes you to the same list page we were looking at earlier under people, so where you can build out those different static or dynamic lists. And then the last subheader here for website, this is actually where you can build a website within the software. So if your organization needs a website, you can use our tool here to quickly and easily create a website for your organization. I'm not going to go into much detail about this tool either, since we are a little bit over time for right now, but we do have a separate webinar that goes over this feature. So definitely, if you're interested, please let me know and I can send you the information regarding this tool. But just to give you a quick example, a couple quick examples of what you can do with a website builder. Here is a couple of pages that are some of our team members here have created. So this one here, this is the Llama Stay. So this is yoga with llamas. You have your beautiful banner image here at the top. You have what the organization is all about underneath there. Meet the team, and then a happy customer feedback, and then the location for the organization. So some pretty cool things about this organization there. And then another one that's been built, this is the Cats for the Disadvantaged. So as you can see, this person used a video as their banner image, but same details about what the organization is all about, where their mission is, where they're located, etc. So again, this is all built within the Aplos web builder. You do not have to have any type of coding or website building experience to utilize this tool. We try to make it as easy as possible for everyone and anyone to kind of come in and build a beautiful website for their organization. All right. And that is it for the marketing tab. Groups and teams, I did skip that one, and that was purposefully as well. So groups and teams, just to give you a quick review of what that is. This is a member management tool that's inside the software. So if you want to build out a maybe like people like a committee or a certain team that helps out with your organization, you can create those types of groups and teams in the system. So this way they can communicate between each other. They can have a calendar for the events that they're going to be having. They can also set up like reminders and email back and forth between members within that group or team. So easily kind of helps you manage your teams and groups within the organization. We do have another webinar that goes over that. So again, let me know in the questions section if you want more information about that tool, and I will gladly give that to you. All right. Before we get to the very end here, I'm going to go back into reports, and I want to talk about those donation reports that are on this main page here. So this donation section, this will give you all of your donation reports that are available. So if you want to pull a report about the pledges, you can do pledges by contact. If you can also do reports for your top donors, donations by household, even your reminders that you set up and notes. But the main report I want to show you here is the donations by contact report. So donations by contact, this is a powerful report that shows you all of your donors and how much they've given to your organization. But this is also the area where you can come to generate your contribution statements. So when you're ready at the beginning of the next year to send out contribution statements for your donors, this is the area you can come to generate those. To start, you would select which year you want to see donations for. So let's say we want to look at last year. And then once that is selected, you can click Extra Actions, and you have two ways of generating those statements. You can either print the contribution statements or you can email them. For the print option, you'd click Print. You'll see some options to choose from, such as if you want to generate a detailed or summarized statement. If you want the statement to show the purposes and funds that the donor gave to, the accounts they gave to, or both. If you want to include a logo for your organization, you can do that as well. And then in the message box, you can type in a personalized message that will appear on all of the generated statements for your donors. Once everything is good to go, just click the print button, and then that will download a PDF file to your computer. That's going to contain the statements for all of your donors. So they're all easily generated right here and there. So there's a statement for each of your donors. So you can easily just print these out, fold them up, and put them in an envelope to either hand deliver or send out in the mail to these donors. These statements are generated so they can fit in a double windowed envelope. So you can easily fold those up and fit them in those envelopes if you wanted to. As far as the alternative way, the email method, you can click Email Statements. And from here, you would just check the box to attach a PDF copy of the statement to the email. Choose where the emails are coming from and then where the replies should be sent to. The subject line for the email, and then in the message, you can type in whatever you want the body of the email to look like. Once you're ready, as long as these contacts have email addresses in the system, you can click Email, and that'll send this email right off to those designated people. If you have donors in here that do not have an email address, the system will send you a little warning that says, hey, it looks like you have a couple people that don't have emails in the system. Would you like to print these out instead? That type of thing. So that's easy enough there. So instead of a long process of generating contribution statements, all it really takes is just a couple of clicks and you have all of your statements right then and there for your people. So really, really quick and easy and smooth process. All right. So that about wraps it up, guys. So we have tackled the entire system. I do apologize. I know the webinar I think is scheduled for 60 minutes, so we're a little bit over that. But for those that are willing to stick around, please submit your questions in that question section. And then just a minute here, we're going to go ahead and open it up for that live Q&A session. For those of you that may need to take off, thank you very much for joining us for the webinar today. I hope you guys got a lot of information out of it. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to our team. We are always happy to help you out however we can. All right, but for everyone else that wants to stick around for the Q&A, just hang on tight and I'll be back in just a minute. All right, thanks for hanging tight, everybody, and thank you for sticking around. So we are going to open it up for the Q&A section now. If you're still typing in your message, please feel free to keep on going ahead and type in those questions. I don't see any questions coming through right now, so cross our fingers. That means that everyone out there got a lot of information answered for them today, which is amazing. If you still have questions, though, please feel free to put them in. I'll be glad to answer those. But since I don't see anything yet, let me go ahead and just talk about a couple other things with you guys before we wrap it up for the day. So back here on the main dashboard page, the one thing I did want to show you guys is this little question section, or excuse me, question mark here on your Aplos account, which would take you to our support center. So our support center here, this is where we store all of our articles and resources that go over the different topics that you can accomplish here within the software. So if you are looking for a particular topic, so let's say that you are looking for, the chart of accounts. So let's go chart of accounts. And you want to know how to set that up. There's an article here for setting up your chart of accounts. So you can click on that. And so from here, you'll see a detailed article that goes over the general process of how to set up your chart of accounts and even has a video that goes along with it. So we do try to update this support center regularly with new articles and updated information. So whenever you are looking for some help on a certain task, you should definitely be able to find a resource of some kind, whether it's a video or an article that goes over the task you are wanting to accomplish. If you're not finding the information you need, or if you just need a little bit more clarity on something, definitely feel free to reach out to our support team. Our support team is always free for you guys, and we are available from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. You can give us a call at the number listed here, the 888-274-1316. You can also send us an email at support@aplos.com. And then a third way of getting in touch with our team is through the messenger bubble that is located at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. So if you click on that bubble, it's going to open up this conversation window here. You can click New Conversation. And then from there, just start typing in your message to us. Now, this feature doesn't work as a live chat, unfortunately, but we do try to get back to these messages within the first hour. So if you are ever in need of getting in touch with us, definitely feel free to either give us a call or send us a message here or send us an email, and we will be more than happy to help you out. All right. Let's go ahead and exit out of that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, if you are brand new to Aplos, we do offer a free 15-day trial period for the Aplos system if you wanted to kind of dive in, take the car for a drive, so to speak, and kind of test things out to see if it's a good fit for your organization. If that is the case for you, you can go to our main website, which is just aplos.com. All right, and then from here, you can go to the orange Try It button, or you can use the orange Get Started button. Wherever you see orange, that will allow you to start a new trial. So from there, all you need to do is just enter in your email address and create a password, and then you can create your Aplos account for there and have it for 15 days for free to test out. There is no limitation to the free trial, so you have access to everything and anything that we offer within Aplos during those 15 days. And there's no payment information required during those 15 days. It's all we need from you is just the email address to create the account, and then you're ready to roll. All right, so since this question box is still pretty clean, I am taking it as you guys got all the information that you needed today, which is wonderful. Thank you very much, everyone, for sticking around. I hope you did enjoy the webinar today and got a lot out of it. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to let our team know. As I mentioned, we are always happy and happy to help you out however we can. So again, thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.